Hello and welcome. In this edition of Resource PNG, we feature the International AIDS Conference 2014 that was staged in Melbourne, Australia in July. The event saw the participation of the National Health Department and PNG's biggest investor, Oil Search Limited. For the first time, the largest AIDS conference in the world was staged in the Oceania region. It brought together more than 13,000 people from 200 nations for 5 days of robust discussions on pragmatic strategies to combat the global epidemic of HIV and AIDS. Our first segment brings you highlights of distinguished speakers and their remarks on the importance of the conference, including the Hella Wigmen, who were part of the PNG contingent and had the opportunity to meet former US President Bill Clinton. But before that, Oil Search Managing Director Peter Botten gives us an overview of the AIDS conference and the work of the Oil Search Health Foundation. Oil Search Limited was a platinum sponsor of the conference.
The AIDS 2014 conference brings together experts and people working in HIV/AIDS from around the world.
As the local co-chair for AIDS 2014, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome you all to Melbourne to the 20th International AIDS Conference.
As we gather here in Melbourne as activists coming together to find an end to AIDS, we also gather together with friends and family and colleagues right across Australia and right across the entire world.
Oil Search is Papua New Guinea's largest oil and gas company. In fact, it's PNG's largest company. And our future is very much tied to the country and the development of further business in oil and gas. The Health Foundation was set up as a charitable organisation to help us expand out into the community some of our health work that we've very successfully carried out in our actual operations. A large Papua New Guinea delegation is down here really to pass on our experiences to other people working in this sector and also to learn from those experts who've been in this game much, much longer than we have.
One of the many advantages of Australia hosting this meeting is to keep people focused on the Asia-Pacific region. And there's tremendous opportunity to completely control HIV, TB, and malaria in this region.
For me, especially to come away for the 2014 AIDS conference over here, it means a lot. And it clearly shows that we are doing something for our people in Papua New Guinea.
Well, the HIV/AIDS movement is an enormous movement and is supported by notables and dignitaries from around the world. Obviously, yesterday Bill Clinton was here representing the Clinton Foundation, and he made a speech to the conference about his experiences and his views about how to take the fight against HIV forward and what his foundation was doing. Part of our conference has been actually to introduce Papua New Guinea to the world. And that has been done in a whole series of ways. Clinton yesterday got a beautiful shot with our hula dancers who were down here from PNG, very colourful scene. They shouted out to him to come and say hello, and he came across.
I love your country. I love working with you.
Thank you.
It was a great moment and one that sort of highlighted, I suppose, that PNG is on a world stage here and is being seen by the HIV/AIDS community as contributing. We were part of the procession that went up as a vigil that took place in Federation Square. The hoolies were present and certainly they stopped traffic and got a lot of photos with a lot of Melbourne people. We also had a very good band down from Papua New Guinea, one of the most famous and most popular bands actually in the Pacific, Paddy Potts, to come down and play. And he did a half-an-hour gig at the beginning of that vigil, which went down extremely well. And the Health Foundation is supported by a number of major donor groups, such as the Global Fund. The Health Foundation is one of the very few foundations around the world that is actually a principal recipient for Global Fund, working in partnership with the National Department of Health and delivering significant programs in HIV/AIDS management, child maternal health, TB and malaria control. Well, one of the highlights, for me at least, of the conference here, outside the social and cultural issues that we brought down here, were the various sessions that we participated in, and the first one was a PNG session specifically pulling together some of the really high caliber key people in the world to talk about private-public partnerships and to talk about managing HIV/AIDS in Papua New Guinea.
So also in PNG, Department of Health have this unique collaboration through the Global Fund grant, which also is our PR, and then it supports the ART program and the HIV program in PNG.
So what Osage is doing, for example, in the Hela province is something that's extremely important, bringing communities into the limelight.
And I think, from the lessons that we've learned in terms of, partnering with the public sector, we all want to achieve in terms of, bringing the services to the community.
I think one of the most important things at the conference is to actually have representatives from the Department of Health here, representatives from the Country Coordinating Committee, and a range of NGOs that we work with within Papua New Guinea. I think it's been an outstanding success. People now know Papua New Guinea. People also know that Osage is part of the HIV/AIDS management program within that country. But I think they've got our commitment. They understand our commitment to the country and what we do there, our commitment to the people in managing some of their core issues of health, and also to, as I say, re-emphasise that Papua New Guinea is a vibrant place. It's a dynamic, multicultural place, which frankly fits in perfectly with this conference, because I think seeing the huge range of different people, different cultures, different backgrounds in the HIV/AIDS conference has been an eye-opener for us all, and I think has been a very positive experience.
We'll be back with more of the conference highlights after these messages. Welcome back to the show. Our second segment focuses on the public-private partnership concept. It showcases a panel discussion on the work of the Oil Search Health Foundation in PNG. The panel talks about the challenges the foundation faces in terms of delivering much-needed medical services to the rural population, building capacity with its partners, and the significance of public-private partnerships.
I'm James Chow, UNA's Goodwill Ambassador, and delighted here to be today with you in this space to talk about public-private partnerships. Of course, the global response against AIDS as we know it is now 33 years old. Of course, as we all know here, since that time, the face of AIDS has changed dramatically. Oil Search is incredibly unique because I'm going to brag a little bit on your behalf, and then don't get too comfortable because I'm going to push it back to you a little bit.
Good.
Oil Search has brought on health ministry staff to work together with your staff. So you've taken the lead from them, but you're supporting them in what their policy planning and in terms of executing. This department has now become the biggest department in your entire company, I believe.
The Health Foundation department is the biggest single department.
Of an enormous company as it is. That is your commitment. There's always a concern about sustainability. One day, if Oil Search is not able or does not have the capacity to partner and to hold the hand of the health ministry, there have also been concerns not only with this one company, but that the government gets very comfortable and that it then begins to not hold, but then to tilt and then lean and then push its weight on you. Do you worry about that as well?
Of course. I mean, this is an extremely difficult and delicate balance to draw. There's been substantive efforts and substantial money spent over time by the Australian government and other supporters to build the capacity within the Papua New Guinea government, and there has only been, unfortunately, patchy success. There obviously is the national government, which we deal with, and as I say, they control the strategies and we work under those. If you go out to the field, to the country, to the highlands of Papua New Guinea, one of the areas that we work, the provincial government was only set up 2.5 years ago. They don't have a public service. They don't have the arms and legs to deliver many of the services that are expected. Now, we could stand back and say, well, look, it's government's responsibility to deliver this, knowing full well that they have absolutely no capacity to deliver those programs and save lives. And so our focus initially was to step in to become a deliverer of services through our Health Foundation. But now that's moving much more into working very closely with the provincial governments and helping them build capacity and helping them to progressively build their position. And this is not an easy or a quick fix. One of the local hospitals that we deal with, I called it a hospital, it's the nearest hospital to our main gas field that's on production, is deeply, deeply challenged. There is one doctor for 400,000 people effectively. There are massive health issues which we believe we must help the provincial government address. Now that is happening, it's happening with support of the national government, but it also takes some time to actually have an impact on people on the ground. And we've taken a view that we can't just step back and take a principled view, they're going to lean on us. They are going to lean on us initially, but let me tell you that the art is very much get that capacity in and progressively pull back. We have to do it that way, but our initial approach at the moment in this phase of activity is we want to stop people dying.
Let's talk about the how-tos. As we said, there may be people right here in this room right now who says, I want to be a part of this, I want to talk to somebody who can make that happen, to be a private sector leader, private sector company. The title of our panel is Leveraging Complementary Strength for Impact at Scale. What are the key ingredients to move from an HIV pilot project, like Rhonda said, in 1 or 2 communities? How do you take that big if it needs to be? And is that an achievable goal, even where HIV prevalence in countries like PNG is especially high?
Well, I think first off, the dialogue that we're having here is a significant step forward in terms of bringing people along and showing examples and real examples that have worked both from a social and a business perspective. There is no doubt that that dialogue is passing a message, presenting positive examples of how we can actually scale up the PPPs in very specific examples and specific environments. It certainly is something that we feel and have found in this conference, an ability to learn from other people's experiences as well as presenting our own gives us some empowerment to take back into our working environment and actually go and talk and lead with other community and private sector groups to drive a much better outcome and demonstrate this can be done not just in PNG but elsewhere. This is the direction that we have to go. And I might also say we need to demonstrate that to government. There's a huge ongoing suspicion about the private sector being involved in this. And I genuinely believe we need to demonstrate again through these sorts of forums what we're about, why we do it, how we do it, and how we can contribute in a very positive way, because there is a massive stigma about working with the private sector, which hopefully is being progressively overcome with these sorts of dialogues and examples.
Stay tuned. After the break, we'll bring you more comments from key figures that give an insight into the fight against HIV and AIDS in PNG. Good to have you back. If you just joined us, we're showcasing the International AIDS Conference 2014 that was staged in Melbourne, Australia in July, and PNG's involvement through the Health Department and All Search Limited. In this third segment, Health and HIV and AIDS Minister Michael Malabag and All Search Managing Director Peter Botten give their insight of PNG's efforts in minimizing the transmission of HIV and partnerships built to combat the disease. But first, Australia's Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Brett Mason, discusses the current HIV and AIDS status in PNG and how more can be done to reduce it.
The story of HIV in Papua New Guinea does offer hope. And only several years ago, just a few years ago, the World Health Organization feared a pandemic. In fact, new HIV infections in PNG are estimated to have fallen. Instead, of the 5% of the population being infected, the figure today is something around 0.8. It's 6 times less than once feared, but 0.8% is still too many. It's appropriate, ladies and gentlemen, to remember this at an event that has as its focus on leveraging partnerships between the government and private companies in the resources sector.
Is the government of Papua New Guinea overarching plan for responding to HIV. It is the third rolling plan developed by the government to respond to the epidemic since the enactment of the National AIDS Council Act in 1997. The government of Papua New Guinea under Prime Minister Peter O'Neill has also approved the public partnership policy in 2014. This government, which I am the health minister, has involved partners such as Oil Search in practically all AIDS activities.
I'd like to tell you why we are involved in the fight against HIV/AIDS and why I believe it's essential that the private sector steps up the pace to work with governments, NGOs, churches and the communities in which we work to address the challenges of this insidious disease in Papua New Guinea. In PNG, it is time, as never before, for the private and public sectors to work together to address these issues. This work in turn led to the formation of our Health Foundation, allowing us to potentially deliver health programs across a broader area of the country and to leverage partnerships with the formal and informal sectors, building on our respective strengths.
Private operators can often respond far more flexibly and innovatively to challenges which arise, such as assisting the government of PNG with the administration of the Global Fund grants, as Oil Search has done so very, very well.
The work in PNG, and in particular with Oil Search and the public-private partnership, offers some insights into potential models, or successful models that can work in countries that are growing rapidly in wealth. It really is public-private partnerships growing, ensuring that the private sector is bringing what its expertise is, the public sector brings what its expertise is, not the old approach to public-private partnerships where we basically fell over each other and replicated what each other was doing.
So when we're thinking about these public-private partnerships coming from the public sector, often we're thinking of them, or we were thinking of them perhaps in the past, as largely a way to get financial resources. But actually, if we look at the lessons that we've learned, cash, I'm not saying it's not important, it's always important, but it's actually probably less important than many of the other contributions of the private sector.
Public-private partnerships, I think, for the future play a very significant role in science. So if we want to discover new ways to do better than what we're doing now, if we want to make sure we don't have to commit people to lifelong treatment, we need innovation and investment. And the public-private partnerships can actually be highly effective in basic scientific discovery.
It's a good and compelling model. It should and does work. In PNG, in conjunction with the NDOH, a number of church and NGO groups, the Health Foundation now supports some 66 clinics in 5 provinces, have tested over 45,000 people for HIV over the past 6 years, provided training in HIV and STI management, along with reproductive health and gender-based violence. Over 150 community health staff have been trained to test and treat HIV, and over 50 school teachers have been supported to deliver programs that educate students about HIV, addressing the common ignorance and stigma that is seen in society, especially in the Highlands.
There's a lot of Oil Search staff over here, and they've done the PNG government proud. And I'm sure they will continue to do so. I'm a very happy man standing over here. I'm glad to be here. It's 2014 AIDS conference. I'm sure we can get a lot. And we can impart that knowledge, where we come from, whatever country it is,
whatever region it is, which part of the world it is. But we stand together, stand tall, stand proud. We can achieve. Thank you.
Please don't expect, as in the private sector, that just paying taxes will continue to deliver you a stable operating environment in PNG, especially over the next 5 years. Join the cause, step up the pace, private sector, and make a real difference. Thank you very much.
Stay with us as we wrap things up on the International AIDS Conference 2014 after these messages. In our last segment, we featured the conclusion of the International AIDS Conference 2014. We'll bring you a short preview of PNG and South Pacific renowned musician Patipot Stoy and the Hella Wigmen teaming up to entertain the crowd in Melbourne's cold weather. Apart from telling the world about PNG's response to HIV, All Search also brought these two groups to Melbourne to showcase PNG's rich cultural diversity as well. But first, All Search Managing Director Peter Botten shares the success of the company's participation and, more importantly, the diversity of PNG's efforts and challenges in the global fight against HIV and AIDS at the conference.
Well, we're coming to the end of the conference, and I believe it's been a huge success both for All Search and for Papua New Guinea.
Came down from PNG with the PNG delegation led by the Honourable Minister for Health, Michael Malabek, and with the Secretary, the Deputy Secretary, and myself as a Disease Control Manager. I'm really thankful that you've brought PNG down to Melbourne and showcased the whole country here. And this is the success of our program, so thank you very much.
This week we've heard all of the great progress in the HIV response, but there is still much work to be done. In order for us to change an epidemic to low-level infection, we need an individualised approach to address key hotspots. We need a strong focus on specific geographic areas and key affected populations that continue to experience the highest numbers of infections.
I think we've been able to demonstrate the great work that Oil Search and its Health Foundation is doing in partnership with the National Department of Health and other NGOs and churches in Papua New Guinea, and demonstrate that we've got partnerships and the way we do our business is a world-class piece of business in the broad HIV/AIDS community across the world.
We built a very good health infrastructure and HIV program using private companies. Mining companies, oil companies like Oil Search, also agricultural companies, big oil palm companies. And this really served as a model for us to develop through the Global Fund grants then, to build on that and try to bring the private sector in more to helping the government in delivering services.
We've also had some real success, I think, in actually demonstrating the culture, the diversity, and actually the views of Papua New Guinea into many, many places, many delegates. Over 15,000 delegates here have taken away a piece of Papua New Guinea. I think we've been very successful in getting and explaining how PNG is managing a critical issue for the country in managing HIV/AIDS.
Our scientific and program advances, many presented at this conference, are cause for real optimism that we can contain the epidemic and that those among us living with HIV can live the long, full lives everyone deserves. Today, I want to ask for your support and engagement in making sure the world's attention continues to stay focused on the epidemic and that we do, indeed, step up the pace.
I really would like to thank everybody who's been involved in this. In my view, has been an outstanding success. Oil Search doesn't stick its head up on these things very often, but I think we've absolutely enhanced our reputation and enhance the reputation of the country and everybody involved in this exercise, in the conference, in the Health Foundation presentation to the conference and how we've presented Papua New Guinea. from our Huli brethren to the sophisticated health professionals, has been, I think, an outstanding success.
Stand together, stand tall, stand proud. We can achieve. Thank you.
Well, that's all we have for you on Resource PNG. Hope you enjoyed the show. As always, if you have any queries or suggestions or simply want to know more about the program, do email us on this address. That's resourcepng@emtv.com.pg, or check MTV online, that's www.emtv.com.pg, and go to our Resource PNG page. Until another edition of Resource PNG, it's bye for now.